Well, to the world beyond our shores, grave concerns about Afghanistan. You've heard me talk about the Brereton Report, and we won't be giving up until justice is done to our soldiers, and that means the nation will not accept evidence given in return for money paid to the enemy of our soldiers in a war zone to secure dubious so-called evidence. Well, Australia's now closed its embassy in Kabul, presumably because the environment is dangerous. The Taliban will see this as surrender. The Americans are pulling out their troops. But it was only a month ago that the Foreign Minister, Maurice Payne, was in Kabul affirming Australia's support for the Afghan government. Yet here we are in full retreat. Presumably, there's been some security assessment of the embassy, or there's little confidence in the ability of the Afghan government to maintain peace and provide security for Australians and other foreigners left behind once coalition forces withdraw. But if this is the state of play, what have we been doing there for 25 years? Is this what we've got to show for our soldiers sacrificing lives? To what extent, as I asked last week, will this impede investigations into the alleged war crimes by ADF troops who serve there? Well, Rita Anwari is an Australian-Afghan woman who came to Australia 20 years ago as a refugee and is now a global peace ambassador for the empowerment of Afghan women. She's very passionate about making a difference to the lives of these women, and Rita joins me. Rita, thank you for your time. What impact will all this firstly have on Afghans?
Basically, it's very obvious. Afghan people in Afghanistan, they're very furious now. So what's happening in the future for Afghanistan? All of a sudden, they made a decision to close the embassy and turn off the light and walk out. So what's the future for them? First of all, Joe Biden's made a decision to, by September 11, they're taking all the troops without of any responsibility. And they promise increase diplomacy in Afghanistan. And then after a couple of weeks, and we hear like the embassy is getting closed, and that's mean it's showing like Western world is kind of promise, and people can't trust it anymore.
Well, Rita, are you of the view that our troops have been let down by government and by the starched shirt brigade, I call them here at home?
Absolutely, the government is they don't any sort of support, and they left the Afghan people down. Basically, they need their support, especially this tough time. They need they embrace them and hold them to for the safety, but they just left them.
I mean, the Afghan community have always embraced our troops, haven't they, and given them every support. What will happen now that the embassy is closed? I'm told that young female journalists in Afghanistan are being hunted and killed, some of them executed in front of their homes. And the Taliban have said they'll return Afghanistan to the old days where women have no voice. How can the hard-fought rights of women and girls be preserved, which you've fought for?
It's every week we see dozens of women is getting killed in Afghanistan, not just only men and women as well. There's no futures holding for Afghan women as well. And we are Afghan around of the world putting our voice up to from international level. We want a peace and also have a support for Afghan women, especially for the future. There's no future for Afghan women, and especially now, when Joe Biden's announcing we're sending more diplomats in Afghanistan, we have a little bit hope. So Afghan women can be saved by a diplomat. But now we see the good neighbor, which is Australia, they turn off the light to us. It's showing like a very emphasis responsibility, yes.
So will the Afghan people think we've abandoned them? I mean, our own SAS family believe they've been abandoned. I mean, a friend of yours and mine who wrote to me and said, I know what it's like to be publicly humiliated, a female wrongly accused, judged and ostracised from my SAS family, while those in lofty towers protect their own selves. And she says, now's the time to be bold and stop this lunacy about charging SAS soldiers on hearsay and decades-old allegations. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, that's what's happening right now. Like especially this week, we lost another soldier that took his life because of this so much pressure on them and this embarrassment for the current governments, what they're doing, they need to look after that area as well. It's just only not in Afghanistan, it's just here. The soldiers actually suffering right now, and my heart is going to that family.
Absolutely. What's to happen, I've read this before, to the Afghan translators who helped our men in their job? If they're not granted visas, they'll be executed, won't they?
Absolutely. It's the people is right now in the target in Afghanistan who actually work with the foreign government and also interpreter. They are the ones in the target right now. Even if the government is changed or not, they're in target. Those people is straight away can get executed, even by their neighbor, by a neighborhood. Then actually tell the Taliban where actually they live.
Frightening. And the Office of Special Investigator Director General Chris Moraitis told a Senate estimates hearing last week that closing the embassy would make it difficult to prepare briefs of evidence against our Special Forces soldiers, which is the subject of the Brereton report. What, just quickly, Rita, before you go, what should happen to the Brereton report? It belongs in the bin, surely.
That's an excuse for Australian government to actually not follow up for what they actually need to follow up. There's always their way to follow up what happened between 2005 and 2016, and there's so much other documents in Australia to follow up. They can't make an excuse we can't follow up because there is no embassy. There's so many other ways to follow up on that. And this family, they lost their son. We've had a 40 member of Australian. They lost their life in Afghanistan, and also they need to justice as well. They need to. Our hearts go to them as well, as much as they. Those civilians killed in Afghanistan. So every side of the angle, they need investigations. That this government then don't have to make an excuse on this one, so we can't do it because our embassy is closed. Yeah. Why you actually close your embassy without consolidated with the Australian government?
Good on you. Rita, we'll talk again, but I thank you for what you are doing and have done. We won't be giving up. We're going to talk again. I just have to say, though, Rita, government has a lot of questions to answer. But thank you for your time, Rita. And what are your thoughts at home? It's awful stuff, isn't it? On skynews.com.au or the text line 0414 000 848.